Like I can tell you when I go into an organization now and I get a read on the people, I can tell you who the problem child is. And it's not
Mm.
that they always have to go, but what happens in small organizations is they go, we got to get this off the ground. We got to get it rolling and we're going to get the people necessary to make that happen. And sometimes you end up with this brilliant jerk, as I call them. And the brilliant jerk, whether they know it or not, create the toxic culture.
Good morning, Joey.
Good morning, Dan. How are you, friend?
I'm doing okay. My leg hurts. My my calf hurts. I did a old man thing yesterday, which
You stood up?
involved.
You stood up a little too
Yeah,
quickly?
no, I basically just started walking too quickly, and then I got like a shooting pain at my right calf, and now it's sore, and I'm kind of like flat footing, kind of walking around.
I was
So
speaking to my brother last night. He had for the first time in his life this strange bout of vertigo, and I told him the only time I've had vertigo in my life was rolling over in bed.
yeah,
Like, what is aging? Ugh.
Yeah, so my buddy had vertigo for like it stuck with him for like a couple weeks, and he was really worried about it. He couldn't get rid of it. Like he's like all wonky like for like a long bit. And he goes to, I can't remember what doctor or chiropractor or whoever he went to, and they're like let's try this. Like apparently this is a thing. And he does like remember the old video games where you do like the up up down down left right
Yeah,
A
yeah,
B
yeah,
A B
yeah,
start to like make something happen on a video game.
yeah.
It was the same thing. He's like, yeah, he took my head and he goes like, shake, 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 spin me around, like do this.
Yes,
And then it was gone.
yes, I
And then it
have
was
heard
gone.
that. I
Yeah.
have heard about that. It sounds like
Yeah.
a very I hope this isn't an improper term, but a very witch doctory kind of thing to do.
Yeah.
Like that
But it
doesn't.
works. It
God
works.
bless.
So anyway, so yes, the point is rolling over in bed. I think you can kind of create the opposite effect and like give yourself, I
Should have
do
just
that
rolled over
occasionally.
the other way. That would have solved it.
Yeah, exactly.
Dan, I'm
So
excited for our
anyway,
guest today.
I am too. It's very exciting.
We're
We're,
speaking to Manny Palachuk. He has had over 35 years of business management training experience in the computer and electronics industries. He's owned several businesses. He's now a successful and sought-after business coach and speaker, and he's the author of Getting to the Next Level. I want to get to the
cool.
next level.
We'll find out about that
Yeah.
for
First,
sure.
can we do some real quick some Instagram or Instagram
Algorithm,
roulette here? Let's see what's on
algorithm searches.
on our feeds here. I haven't opened
Yeah.
Instagram today, so let's see. I will tell you. I will be completely honest.
Heated rivalry.
Heated
Heated
rivalry.
rivalry.
Sorry, I finished
All right.
while
The
watching.
theme.
Yeah, it's comedians talking about heated rivalry.
I don't.
Comedian.
It's
Heated rivalry.
hot. What? So yeah, what's I haven't seen it, but it's
Is that
Heated,
two?
another podcast talking about heated rivalry. This guy who interviews children, asks them big life questions, which I love. And someone playing "Enjoy the Silence" on a an organ in a church.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah,
That's actually pretty
interesting
relatively
algorithm,
wholesome.
right? Interesting. Heated
Yeah.
rivalry and Depeche Mode.
Relatively wholesome.
Yeah, what's going on with you?
On my Instagram, well, if I'm going to be totally honest, I probably should start. And
Uh-oh.
again, I don't
Should you
even
mute
know
it?
why.
Should you mute it first?
Yeah, it's everything's muted. I don't understand why. I mean, like some of the like regular like OnlyFans girls and stuff that pop up, it's because they're in bikinis and stuff. So it's decided it wants to show me that. I get that. Fine. Uh, but like the guy who stretches people, like stretches the girls and like kind of does it in very like provocative ways, keeps popping up, and I don't look at him, but somehow they're really pushing that one on me. So anyway, he's there.
Well, algorithms, they
Yeah,
tell you what you want, Dan.
yes, every time I see it, I get so mad, but I just can't stop looking. Um, the next one is some sort of surveillance camera, like ice thing. I won't tell you which direction, but you could probably guess.
Can I guess? I'm not sure I can guess. We've not discussed
No, you
this.
probably can.
Yeah.
Well, someday we'll have we should have a whole political day one day, and then we'll talk about political stuff. Just me and you, so it doesn't get crazy. Um, and here's an OnlyFans girl opening the door and doing some sort of gag where she's, um, mm, I don't know what she's doing. I don't get
So
it.
you're into the OnlyFans. If the OnlyFans is
You know what it is? When I look at it on my computer, I wouldn't be as much because you have to scroll up and down. But when you're on your phone and you go to the home screen, it's just like all bikini girls. And apparently I clicked on it once or twice too many, and now that's all it wants to show me. Well, that and people falling down. Like here's a guy on a zip line getting caught on something. So anyway, that's that.
algorithms. Dan, shall we check
Awesome.
in with Palm Beach news? Let's go to Kelly's
Yes,
corner. Let's see what's
let's
going
check.
on in West Palm Beach.
Kelly's here. Grab your shades. It's a wild, weird Florida day.
Kelly's Corner. I made a joke one time, and that was I wasn't being actually serious, but there you go.
I think it's gonna
sticking.
stick.
Kelly's Corner. KK. Uh-oh, KK.
Yeah, just
You almost
the
said
two.
the
Kelly's
third one.
Just the
Cozy Corner.
two.
Okay, so I'm just making a prediction. I just opened my WPTV Channel 5 app, and I'm going to guess that the bulk of it's going to be weather related because that is the big deal in Florida because it's been cold in Florida. So, let's see. Okay. Well, actually, there's more stuff. Under 3 blankets, hundreds without power during cold snap in Martin County. Under 3 blankets.
Well,
Because-
also remember there are going to be people that just don't have heat in general,
Right.
right?
Well, you know what? Actually,
like
Winston's our son Winston goes to this like Friday activity sort of thing, and I got a message from the teacher that like there's no heat in their house. Their house doesn't have heat, so it's like 60 degrees in their house, which isn't horrible. But okay, well that's it. That was interesting. It's a big deal. Residents help capture invasive iguanas during cold snap. This is the big thing. Florida residents help capture more than 900 invasive iguanas during cold snap without permits. Florida's temporarily allowing residents to capture and transport green iguanas without permits to help reduce the state's invasive reptile population during a cold snap. They consider them invasive, so you can get rid of them. People have collected more than 900 iguanas just at the Cuesta Field Laboratory alone. There you go. So
I have a question about collecting the iguanas because they allow you to collect them and they tell you to put them in a plastic bag,
no, not
right?
plastic. They say it can't be plastic.
Oh, because it'll die. It'll kill them then, right? That's
Well, I guess I was just assuming that they could rip through the plastic because they've got really sharp claws. If they were,
yeah, that too. But it's gonna kill them anyway, though, right? That's what they're doing.
I don't know. They're going to kill them anyway. They're going to kill them anyway.
We're gonna have a lot of wallets.
But this is, you guys, this is pretty good. Jed Larkin, that's a great name, Jed Larkin, captured about 20 green iguanas and described the opportunity as a redneck Easter egg hunt. He said he had his family participate because he thought it was a great idea to keep his kids playing outside. Oh,
That's some Florida right there.
there you go. There's
That's
that
what I'm
one.
looking for.
All right, now this is farmers tend to crops and animals during cold snap. Let's see. These are all this is all again real stuff. I don't want to read.
Give me some alligators, Kels.
No. Oh, that's not very interesting. Manatee Fest marks 10th anniversary with free celebration at Manatee Lagoon. That's
what else do they do at the Manatee Fest? They have music?
Well, probably the Florida's beloved gentle giants, which actually they didn't. I'm surprised that this isn't talking about it. One of the things that the manatees do when it's cold is that they hang out in the warm areas. So they hang out where the power plants are and all the water comes out. If we think about it while you're here, we should probably go check it out because they'll be in this lagoon, which is and there'll just be hundreds of manatees in the area where it's warm because they're they want the warm water when it's cold out. And so I'm surprised they don't mention that. But
have you ever seen like tadpoles, like little spot on a pond where they're all like bunched together and they're all over? It's just like that, except it's like 1,000-pound manatees all jammed.
It's
in.
pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool when you see them because they're just everywhere. There's going to be a kid zone. There's going to be giant sea life puzzles. You can take photos with a manatee mascot, not a real manatee. So I assume somebody in a suit. It coincides with peak manatee season when the clean, warm water outflow from FPL's Riviera Beach Next Generation Clean Energy Center draws large groups of manatees seeking refuge from cooler winter waters. So that's going to be
There you go.
there. You know, I don't know. Okay, well, that's not much. These are kind of boring. It's not really that orange growers protecting citrus from freezing.
It's all weather related, so that means all like the criminals and stuff, like anything exciting, everyone's just at home. No one's doing anything.
Uh,
I mean, the only
y'all
other
are weak in Florida. The
I know,
criminals in New
right? It
York are,
really
you
is.
know.
There's like, I mean, honestly, there's not too much. It's all weather related. I mean, they talk about South Florida Fair. They closed this past Sunday, so it's not open anymore. But they waived the fee, the entry fee on Sunday when it was like 40, like it was 30 to 40 degrees during the day, so it was quite cold. They waived the fee for anybody who wore shorts. But they didn't stipulate that you had to wear just shorts. You could wear shorts over other stuff. They were just trying to bring people in for the last day of the fair. I read that one already because I was interested. I read that one a couple days ago. I was like, oh, really? So that's it. There's not much more. I guess that's about it, you guys.
What's
Person who
dictum?
acts like a dick and then acts like a victim about it, a dictum.
I'm writing this down
I do a lot of
now.
Merriam-Webster like dictionary things, so that's where that came from. There you go.
You know I
But
love
that's a
making
re-
up
that's a
words.
real
That's a great
word.
one.
Dictum, yeah.
That's a great.
It's a dictum.
Yeah.
Thanks, sweet
All right.
Kels.
Cool.
All right, see you guys
Okay.
later. Bye.
Love you.
See ya. Bye. A dictum. I like
It's my
that
kind
one.
of word. Let's bring
think
in
I know-
Manny. Let's talk to Manny today.
Hey,
Hi,
Hey,
Manny.
Manny.
Thanks for joining us today.
oh, thanks for having me. Love listening
It's
to the
good to
Florida
see you.
news. It's nothing new to me, but it's always funny to hear, even when you live here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about where you are in the world, how long you've been here, and all that sort of stuff.
So currently, I live in Clearwater, Florida, right just the other side of the peninsula in the Gulf of Mexico. Me and my wife moved here about 15 years ago, but we started over in Boca, and we realized we can't afford to be in Boca, but we were there for like half a dozen years, and then I decided when we originally decided to move to Florida, we wanted to be on the warm side over here, the not hot side, but the I don't know, it's just nicer over here, right? It's really nice over there.
I
If
used to
you're
vac.
if you're north of Boca, it's really nice. As you start getting south, and you know how the traffic is. You guys know exactly how that is.
Correct. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
went, this is where we want to be. So we moved here. Somebody offered me a job. I ended up in Boca. And then when that ended, I hung out for a while because of the martial arts studio I was at, just kind of compelled me to stay there. And then I went, you know what? I got to be over here. So we moved back over here, but we've been here 15 years. We were in California where I met my wife 20 years ago for probably about 5 or 6 years.
Got it.
But in business, I like you'd indicated, I've been in the industry actually almost 40 years. I went to tech school back in the late 80s and got into computers and electronics only because I won a computer at a grocery store in second quarter electronics. So I was like, I knew more about computers than anybody in my class because I
Yeah.
won, and it was because my girlfriend stuffed the box at the grocery store. But I won this computer, and so I was like, I'm hooked. And I went to school for robotics, but I kept trying to get into electronics, but I kept following the money and getting into technology and computers. And so I
Yeah.
wasted 30 years in computers when I could have been playing with robots. And
It's funny how that I was the same way when I had a computer as well, kind of early on, and it wasn't very hard to like be a genius at computers because nobody else was like into it, right? So when everyone was impressed because you knew anything about it at all, could do anything. So
owning a computer, they're like, you own a
right,
computer. The IBM 5150 was $5,000 in Compute
mm,
Magazine, right? And
right,
so yeah, I mean, it's not the
yeah,
first computer I had, but it was the first real, desktop computer.
right. And that would have been back in like the 80s. So that would have been
87,
yeah,
87, yeah,
so that
1987.
would have been like $15,000 equivalent now, probably,
I
right? Just
Well, no, yeah, today. Oh, I didn't even know what the hell today. I mean, back then it was like almost $3,000 for the kit, the monitor, the computer. It had 2 floppy drives, I'll tell you, right?
Yes.
No hard drive.
Yeah.
And yeah. So anyway, and then, so then being in the industry, at some point you evolve and you move into management, you run a company, you start your own company, and then at some point you go, you know what, I can help people run their business better. And that's what I've been doing for the last 15 years, and I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. And I also noticed there's a lot of cool stuff on the shelves behind you. I can't see the wide view that I had earlier, but I see 42, which is Hitchhiker's Guide, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Good, good. Cool. And tell me about your martial arts career. You mentioned a taekwondo studio.
So, me and my wife each had previous marriages and children, each had one. So when I met up with her, she had a daughter, I think she was 13. And when we decided to, meld together and move in together and everything, I realized I'm not going to be part of her life and not have her involved in some program where she can learn self defense. It doesn't make sense for a young woman not to be able to protect herself. So I said, "Hey, you want to go do this? I've always wanted to get into martial arts, a formal martial arts program." And she said, "Yeah, we'll try it out." So we went and tried it out. And I said, "Okay, are you willing to do this? But you got to do a commit for at least 6 months." And she goes, "Yeah, yeah." And then we went home and told my wife, Laura, how cool this was. You want to do it? And she goes, "Yeah." So the three of us got into martial arts and we committed for like a year. Right. And turns out we really liked it. We kind of found a community there and we started, evolving for, yellow belt, blue belt, green, all the way up. And we all got our black belts together. It took almost 5 years in the program and we all got our first degree black belts. But we spent several years going around traveling, to tournaments, and, um, we all got, state championship. And
Wow.
so then, uh, Catherine, the daughter, she goes off to college. Me and my wife, we moved to the East Coast, and I had to get her into a program over here. So, Laura, she kind of begged off. She was like, had been in a car accident many, many years ago, hurt her knee. So she was like, you know what? This is just a bit much for me. I'm going to beg off. And I'm like, cool. I'm going to keep going because I just very interested in it. It's good for my health and everything else. And I got my training certification as a level 2 instructor, got my second degree, and then I got my third degree. It's just something that I spent 15 years at that. And, it's very dear to me because not just because of the discipline, but the physical exercise, you know,
Stretching as you get older. Like I said earlier about I hurt my leg. And so
you
like,
gotta keep, yeah, you gotta keep moving or you're just gonna get squeaky like a, rusty
yeah.
tractor. Yeah.
Manny, would you say you've always been a disciplined person, or is martial arts
Well, I
something that
could
gave
say
that to
that,
you?
but it would not be necessarily true. You guys are talking about the Twitter or the Instagram
Yeah,
algorithm.
yeah.
They're kind of trying to piss me off, I think, because they keep showing me stuff on ADHD and stuff like that. Because so I didn't even graduate high school, so no, not really super disciplined, but that was because I was just bored. And
Yeah.
when I think about how ADHD affected me when I was young, it was really significant and I didn't understand it. Right. And so it's one of the reasons I love martial arts. It's also one of the reasons in my book on business strategy, I talk about a very structured method. These are the things I've developed in my own life and migrated to because they help me make order out of chaos and keep it there. It doesn't make it perfect. It's like magic, but it gives me this avenue to go stay focused, to stay on point. So I think I didn't really get focused until I decided to get a formal education and got into college. And then I was like, oh, like this is going to require actual focus, but I'm interested in it. I'm very interested in it. So all of a sudden I'd graduate with honors, right? But I couldn't finish high school because I didn't have time for it. Right. Actually in high school, I really wanted to just go out in the world and make my first million, and
Yeah. Being being interested in stuff makes a big difference in terms of your ability, a person's ability to focus and be able to, stay on the path of whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. It is very hard when I had the same problem. I was homeschooled from fifth grade until I went to college. And I went to college at 15 for the same reason, because once I decided I was going to college, like then it made sense and it was easy and it was interesting to like stay on it. But like going to like, if I had to go to like regular high school, that would have been like,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have worked for me either.
Yeah.
So
There was just no, I'm looking at the material and I'd ace tests I'd sleep on a book and I'd wake up the next day and take a test. And I always felt bad about not doing my homework because it's this discipline I'm supposed to have. And I was just horrible at it, but it didn't matter because I could just go walk in and pass the test, you know, and only when I got into college was it really interesting. Right. I mean, the interesting thing of life of just, I understood the monetary value of things because I mowed lawns when I was a kid and did newspapers and stuff like that at like 9. So I understood the value of money. So to me, it was like, I don't need this shit. I'm just get me out in the world. I'm going to go, I had 3 jobs at 17, right? 2 of them were legal. I mean, it's making money hand over fist. What do I need an education for? Right. And
right. Yeah.
You started your business empire by surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Community seems to be a really big, uh, an integral part to your success. And you speak about something called the isolation tax. Could you speak a little bit more about that?
the
The
isolation, what?
isolation tax.
I'm not catching the last word. You're like,
Isolation tax, like taxes. We're all about to be filling out
oh,
our
yeah. Oh
taxes
my
soon.
God. Oh,
Yeah.
so I would say, like, I tell people in their business, I work with a lot of small business, they get caught in what they're doing and they're so busy working in the business, not on the business, which is a concept from a book called The E-Myth Revisited. So I tell them, like, you got to get out of your cave, right? And in when the pandemic hit, it was even worse. But you've got to get out and talk to other people because they've solved problems you've already figured out, right? Or they've solved problems that you've been aching on for years. And then you talk to them and if nothing else, they give you ideas. I'm really big on the mastermind. I love the concept of the mastermind. And so, I found, much to the damage of my hubris and everything, that I didn't know everything. And the more I talked with other people and surrounded myself with really smart people, the more we could figure out easily. So when I started my first business, I went and hired some of the smartest techs. Uh, when I worked for my brother in his organization, he moved me up to service manager and president. It was the same thing. We're only going to hire people that are sharp and that can add to the mind collective. But we also made it a point that you have to go to events and you have to go, whatever they are, industry events or community events or whatever else. You've got to get out and break out of that, because otherwise you're a monolith and you think you know everything and you don't know shit. You have no idea what you don't know, right?
Totally. Yeah, totally. Totally agree. The um when I came to Florida, the first thing that I did, because I was kind of seeking exactly what you're describing, was a community, was a new way of looking at things, because I had myself entrepreneurially very isolated from other people who are also entrepreneurs or who have common, perspectives. And when I came to Florida, my specific goal was is to like get out of that mindset, because it's very easy, at least it was for me, to assume that because I had a certain level of success that I was smart, right? And it turns out that being smart really has nothing to do with anything, because like you just said, you don't know what you don't know. And so you can be the, quote unquote smartest person in the room, but there's other rooms and other people that know other things, right? So
It's also because you've not had anybody else in the room. So what?
exactly.
And,
Exactly.
and really, I think it is funny because, like, I was a very arrogant. I'll be honest. I was really arrogant when I was young because I thought I knew everything. And the more I learned in college, the more I thought I knew everything. And I don't know exactly where I got to the point. I listened to a lot of books, Brian Tracy and, just all kinds of stuff, right? And self-help things and broadening my mindset and going, stop and think about it. If you were the smartest person, wouldn't it make sense to go seek other smart people? And then when you start to do that, you start to realize, like, I don't know as much as I as I think I do. But more importantly, again, that collective of talking to other people. But I think one of the things that's the hardest that I had was, where am I going to find other people? Because I always thought I had to talk to other people that were as smart and had as much knowledge and as sharp as me. And that's not necessarily true. But my mind was stuck in that. And then I had to kind of break out of that and realize, nah, man, you talk to the variety of people and you get a variety of ideas from people you would never have thought that they would have even said anything useful. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things in that I probably since it must have been like 2017, maybe a little before that, I started just volunteering, coaching at EO's Accelerator program. And then since then, I've also been like Harvard Entrepreneur in Residence and like similar type programs where I've like and I advise people I'm invested in and all that stuff all the time. And what I found is that by observing other people who are going through the process that I've already gone through, and I can be helpful to them, I'm also learning something about myself in the process. So to your point, you don't always have to be seeking people who are like, you know, quote unquote, you know, like beyond you. Helping other people get to where you're at in itself is a valuable exercise for yourself, and you learn a lot about your own perspective because for me anyway, I see myself in the problems that they're having, right? I see like myself going through those processes. And it also makes me just feel better because when I see other people struggling with things that I struggle with, it makes me feel like I'm not like special. Like it's just like
Almost a
that's life.
trigger. That's almost a trigger for me. And you just hit something that I think that actually allows me to have a better answer the next time I'm asked that. It is working with other people, seeing myself in their struggle, seeing how they went through this and going, I did that. You do not have to go through that shit. Right. And I want to help you show. I mean, you still have to go through a certain amount of that pain and suffering so that you realize why you should never do that again. But let me help you find a better path. And seeing myself in that forced me to have the introspective to go, oh shit, yeah, you should back off on that because, right, that's not, I think that's a good way to put it. I also, you would talk about community. My son, when when he was young, I said, you can be in any program you want to be in, or in any program you want to be in, as long as you're in something, and then you can write your own ticket. Come
Mhm.
home from school, goof off, do whatever you want to do, as long as you're in some program and you stick with it. So he got into Boy Scouts. And so I got into leadership to support that. Because the idea was I wanted him to do something I'd never done, which was graduate high school without ever having to go through a fraternity test and never having handcuffs on you. And so like, as long as I can get you to that point, I've won, that's it. So you're in a program. So when he did that, if I went in as leadership to help support the program and found something that I really enjoy, which was helping other people, evolve and learn. And so, yeah, I think every program I've ever been in, that's the thing that I thrive on is, like you say, seeing myself and other people going, you don't have to do it that way. You don't have to do it the hard way.
One
Manny,
of
it
the
sounds to me like you did not struggle with imposter syndrome at all when you were a younger person.
Well,
Would you say
oh
that's
God, yeah,
true?
yeah. Oh, I'm trying to imagine anybody who truly in their id doesn't at some point face that. And I absolutely did. And I mean, I'll even admit to some point I still do today.
Yeah.
Who, who the hell am I to get up on stage and tell people about organizational culture?
How do you talk yourself through that?
Um, Now I go, it, you, it's kind of back to that thing of, Manny, you don't have to be the person that knows the most. You just have to be able to give usable contribution to the conversation. And it doesn't even have to be the most unique idea, though. For marketing, we want to make it sound like, my favorite. I have a keynote that's very dear to me because of a life event called the Culture Imperative, and the marketing of it and everything has to be that there's this big important message. But really, at the end of the day, every time I've ever done that presentation, it's just being able to let people know, share an idea, share an experience, and hope that it moves them somewhere. So I tell myself, it doesn't have to be the best. It doesn't have to be the most perfect. And you don't have to be the best. You just have to be able to add a contribution to that person in their evolution or that group as a group of individuals who are trying to learn something or get something to help them move through the world. My mantra, my life thing is I just want to see the world turn in the right direction on balance, right? That's it. And so to me, if I can add any energy to make it move in the right direction and keep it on balance, then that's what washes away the imposter syndrome, right? I'm not lying about anything. I am who the hell I am. I've earned every freaking mark I've got on me. And sharing that, it's almost a responsibility at some point to me. I think of it. And then and it mostly washes away, right? But no,
Yeah.
I'd say I've suffered from it all my life. A lot less now because I know how to manage it better.
Yeah. Yeah. When I'm trying to deal with uh like I'm thinking of a specific example. I was dealing with somebody who was particularly difficult, and people who know me will know exactly who I'm talking about. In terms of like this last couple of years, we've been had an ongoing project that we're in the middle of and we can't get out of. It's been a long project, but it's getting there. It's almost over, hopefully. Um, and the other person on the other side of that table is particularly difficult to deal with. And one of the things that I've kind of from uh, like a mindset perspective, I've kind of leaned into this idea that, and it's because it's true. It's 100% true, and I just have to remind myself of it. And I think it speaks to the idea of a way of dealing with kind of imposter syndrome and all that sort of stuff too. Is the idea of like, it's not about me. It's about me wanting to make the best outcome for everyone. So if I don't focus on myself, then I'm not really worried about what the outcome actually is. It's about how do I make it the best for everyone who's involved? And by taking that approach, it takes the pressure off of me specifically to perform in a particular way because I'm looking more at the other person. And I don't know if it was on another one of our interviews here or if it was another conversation I was having recently. Um, but the idea that I think a lot of times people are very isolated right now because of technology and social media and all that stuff. It kind of like makes us feel like we're connected, but we really aren't. And also, social media, by its very nature, is very introspective, right? Like it's all about me. I'm taking pictures of myself. Here's pictures of my food. Like it's all about me, and and we're kind of told that by being very self-centered, like that's the way. And it's actually the opposite. Like when you're out helping other people accomplish something, you're helping people with whatever their thing is, for me, for sure, that's what makes me happy. And that's actually what makes me feel good about myself because it's not about me.
Yeah. I think it is also, I might have made the comment before, again, being very arrogant when I was young, but also being very strong minded about, being right. I won't say a dictum, but I was a dick. And I was a dictor. I was a dick and pretended to be the victor all the time. Like right, I got this figured out, and you're fucking stupid, or partly, hope you can bleep that, right? And I had to get away from that because it wasn't healthy for me, but it also wasn't going to help people, move in the right direction. And so it's like the field marshal. Instead, is more was my mindset and attitude was like, no, let's get this done right the right way, and changing that all to the work with teams and groups and everything else. I know better, right? That it's about if you work on the team, a rising tide raises all ships, right? It's why to me culture is so important, right? And vision, mission, values, this thing I call the human element, right? All of these things have to contribute, and any one person, like we've seen it in sports. If you follow sports at all, there are some sports athletes who they're so good at it and they know they're good at it. And then next year they're not on the team. You're like, where'd that guy go? And the answer is, you know what? He was one of the best, but at the end of the day, he's damage to the culture. He creates toxic culture, and he's got to go. And that's what happens. People as a team go, we got to get somewhere. Where's the problem? When they identify it, it doesn't matter if you are the smartest person, you have the best ideas, you got to go, right? Values drive people down and out of the organization that don't belong there if you hold them, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember what book it might have been. It might have been from the E Myth, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But Is that is that where the idea of the cultural terrorist comes from? I think they use that term that like it's like, and
I
maybe
don't
it
know.
wasn't even
I don't know that
maybe it
I've
was
that
another.
from the E-Myth Revisited, but it sounds familiar. Um,
Yeah, yeah. The
Say
idea,
more,
the idea
Dan.
that
Say more.
the idea that there's people inside the organization that um, either consciously or unconsciously, lots of times consciously, are literally like cultural terrorists. Like they're in there specifically screwing up the culture that you're trying to organize or that you're existing as. And the hardest people in the organization to get rid of in that process are the ones who are the smartest or the best salespeople or the best operators or whatever it is, because the organization technically gets value out of them if you don't look at the cultural side. But then, like you just said, because of their terroristic tendencies to the culture itself, it just eventually does drag down the whole organization, and they need to be taken care of and moved out, or they find their way out the door. Either way.
yeah, my experience over 15 years of help coaching other companies, I wrote about it in my book, Getting to the Next Level, and I'm rewriting a book, another version of the book, and it focuses more on culture. My experience has always been like I can tell you when I go into an organization now and I get a read on the people, I can tell you who the problem child is, and it's not
Yeah.
that they always have to go, but what happens in small organizations is they go, we got to get this, we got to get this off the ground. We got to get it rolling, and we're going to get the people necessary to make that happen. And sometimes you end up with this brilliant jerk, as I call them. And the brilliant jerk, whether they know it or not, create the toxic culture. Now, you've got to go as a team, like a team should, try to get them to fit in the organization, and then they can stay. But if not, they got to go. And I'd say that like the brilliant jerk, they sometimes I read an article, or not an article, a book, and they were talking about how sometimes leaders actually is common for leaders to oppress people that are approaching their level because they get protective of it, that they don't want to get passed up. And it was talking about how, you know what, you screw that. You need to help those people move to their potential. If it's higher than yours, get over that. Help them be all they can be. That's a good thing to do. But so that's natural that a leader, let's say a lead tech, they're like, yeah, I know more than everybody else, and I kind of have to protect that because it protects my job and all that. And what my methodology for coaching now is literally identify the people that might fit into that category, lay out your what I call the culture, vision, mission, values, and this human element. And then what happens is people are either they see the vision and they want to be part of it. They're up for the mission. So there's clarity all the way around, right? I know what we're out to do. I want to be part of that. I'm up for the mission, the day to day, the 20-mile marches, what's the book? Jim Collins says the 20-mile march, right? The values, right? Integrity, whatever they are, and then the human element, which is all this unique thing that each of us bring to the table, right? So what happens is the values determine who gets to stay in the organization, who has to leave, right? Who gets in, who doesn't get in, who stays, and who has to go. And so if you force a company to lay those things out, then all of a sudden that brilliant jerk, they've either got to fit in or they got to beg off. And I can tell you for the last 10 years that I've solidified that with an organization every time we do that. I could almost tell you today when I go into an organization, I never say it, I never write it down. I can tell you who's not going to be here in 12 months.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. It's just how they're built. And there's a place for them in the world. It's just not here. Right.
Yeah.
And every company's always been better off for it. The minute they're gone, they're like, oh my God, holy smoke. What are we going to do without the brilliant jerk? We're going to get by. Right. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go get to the next level because that person was literally dragging us down and holding us back.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I wish we
right.
could get you into the entertainment industry, do your magic in some of the
Yeah,
film and theater
must-
world.
Do you deal with a lot of brilliant jerks, Joey? It sounds like maybe that exists in that world pretty heavily.
You know, I got to say, I infrequently deal with brilliant jerks as actors. The actors are frequently not the brilliant jerks. It's administrative frequently. It's as Manny was saying, there's And I'd like to hear what you have to say about this, Manny. There's a lot of ego involved, right? So the people up here don't want these people getting all the attention. So how do you manage the egos of the people up here who are kind of keeping everybody else from reaching their potential?
So one of my favorite books is called What Got You Here Won't Get You There.
Mm.
The guy talks about, I think it's like 21, 22 key traits that you need to get you to being a VCO of an organization and getting a head of a department, getting it to the where it needs to be and getting the numbers in place and managing these people. But when you want to move above that to CEO or president, you've got to shed a lot of those behaviors and traits. If you don't, you're likely never going to make it, you know, up into that rank or live very long in that range. And Dan, you're nodding your head. Have you heard it? You've read that book or
Yeah.
right? And it's I look at it, and actually, it is one of the things that opened my eyes when I read it. It was like, oh, that's you. Actually, I think about it. That may be one of the things that helped me a lot. Was like, oh, that is you. You feel like you always have to have the last word. Oh, that is you. You think that this, and I took tally of that and went, oh, my of a score of 23 things, my score is 48. Like, holy shit. Like, I got to back down, right? And so I go through these things, like looking at myself, but I think it's the best tool when you go to another company and you see somebody like that and go, look, you're creating an impasse for some of the best people in your organization. Let's take stock of where you're at in this and see what your mindset and perspective is and how you can think differently about what's best for the organization. Again, the vision and the mission, right? And the values and all of that. Because you're cramping the capability of this organization because you're protecting knowledge or role or whatever
Yeah.
else. And
Yeah.
that's a hard thing for anybody to
Yeah.
do, to go, you know what? I think you could do my job and his job or her job a whole bunch better than me. Let me help you get there. Right.
Yeah. Yes. An
It's a zero,
entrepreneurial
they
friend
think
of
it's
mine.
a zero sum game, and it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, an entrepreneurial friend of mine once said that the like top end potential of any business is based on the top end potential of what the founder's good at, not what they're bad at, but what they're good at. Because if they're bad at something, they'll more easily give it away. They don't like it. But if they're good at it, they hold on to it. But that isn't to say that just because they're good at it, there isn't somebody better. So that's kind of, and I think that applies whether it's a founder, whether it's a manager in a department or anybody, that it's like, you have to realize the thing that you're good at, you ultimately may not be the best at. And there might be still somebody better than you that can take that ball and run it better than you can, ultimately. And you've got to be willing to give up not only the stuff you're bad at, but the stuff you're good at as well.
Yeah. If anytime in a team building program, one of the best things you can do, the longer it is, the easier it is to set everything up, is to get people to identify and figure out where they think they're best at a thing, and then walk them through seeing how they may not be. And then, in fact, there's a good likelihood they're not. And like for me, it's sailing. I love to sail. I taught sailing to the youth in the Boy Scouts, and I have a sailboat. Um, and to me, sailing is the ultimate, right? And so you put somebody at the helm, you put somebody on, the jib and somebody on the main and all these different positions. Let them do that for a couple of days, switching around in positions, and then ask them, who should be at the helm? Who should be here and here? And the name on the top of the list for some of these things is just not who you think it's going to be. Right. And then you go out sailing a day and you do it, but switch the group up and do it again. And it proves that, you might think you're the best at this, but you're not. And you've got to decide, are we going to go with what you think because you're the owner, or are we going to go with what's best for the team to win the race? Right. And that's how companies get to the next level. And it's how they also get blocked is they never make it through that impasse. They go, no, we're going to do it this way, my way or the highway. Like, good, great. Stay where you're at. Mediocrity is a great thing. There's a lot of it, right? Plenty of it.
That's also how you learn more about yourself, right? I
Oh
think
my
it's
God,
very
yeah.
easy to get to a certain age and think, well, this is what I'm good at, and not explore. I'll give you an example. I did another escape room a couple of nights ago with a big group of friends. And if you had asked me, what are you good at? I would have said, I'm good at puzzles. I'm good at puzzles. turns out I'm really not great at puzzles. What I'm good at is the fearlessness of someone needs to crawl through that thing to get the thing and turn the thing. I'm great at that. Or there's a vat of boiling something. Is it oil or water? Someone needs to stick their hand in that. I'm great at that stuff. And I would never have thought that I'm a fearless person. But I mean, it's an escape room. I know there's no real danger there. But I'm just saying it really made me learn something about myself, that I can broaden my horizons in certain ways, and in certain ways back off. Like, okay, maybe I'm not the best in this room with solving the puzzles. Let someone else take over.
So how does that work out? How does that correlate to life, Joey? Like, is that true also for your life, or has it been as you're moving through life that you're also willing to stick your hand in the vat to see whether it's actually hot or cold, or like
As I've gotten older, I think I've been an extremely cautious and by the book and give me structure, and I can work well in that structure kind of person. But as I've gotten older, I've noticed that if I just try something a little bit differently, or I just step out of my comfort zone, which I don't enjoy it at the time, but on the other side of it, it's always worth it.
Yeah.
Every single time, because I've learned something, whether or not I enjoyed it, like whether or not it was a pleasurable experience, I've learned something about myself.
You make me think of I can't remember the character's name in Stranger Things. She's like, "Give me a flamethrower," right? And you're like, at the beginning of the series, she's like, "The hell is this?" She's gonna have nothing to do with it. At the end of it, she's the one like, "No, I can go do that shit." You're like, "What the hell?"
That would have been me. Yes,
Right?
that's my arc. That's my hero villain arc. Yes.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's awesome though. Right. But this is life, right? This is the trial. And what bothers me the most is seeing people who think that they've got to have arrived at some place already, no matter where they are. Even myself, I go, geez, I think I should already, be here or doing this or moving on to this. And part of that is what drives us to get there. And others, it's what keeps them from ever getting there.
Right.
And you got to decide which side of that coin you're going to be on, right? Are you going to, the way me and my wife talk about these things a lot, are you going to tell a hero story or a victim story, right? There's some discussion books and things on it. And that's one of our favorite things to look at it is, okay, so, my thing now that I've developed from that is, okay, so then what'd you do? What did you do then? Like, you're gonna sit and piss and moan about it? Or did you go, so I went home and I cleaned, I changed this thing about my life, right? And those are the things that change people's lives. And if they don't, they just meander along, look back and go, yeah, shit, that was sucked,
Yeah. Yeah. You really hit it on the head. The idea of choosing or not choosing to be a victim, right? Like things happen to people every day. It happens to me every day. It happens to both of you every day. These various things, quote unquote, good or bad, whatever they are. But your choice on how you view yourself going forward after that makes the difference, right? You can view yourself as a victim of circumstance, a victim of whatever, or you could just say, yeah, that's something that happened. I didn't like it. It wasn't good, but I'm moving forward because I'm in control, or I can make a choice. That's something else we've talked about in the past, is the idea of we always have a choice. We can always choose to move forward. We can always choose to have a certain perspective. We just have to make active choices that produce the outcomes and the feelings that we want.
Yeah.
Mm.
And interesting, when at the epicenter of an event, there may not always, my experience has been, there may not always be an immediate choice, but eventually there will be a choice. You still have to go through this grief or this whatever. But
Totally.
when the smoke settles and you have time to think, space starts to broaden your view, there will always be an option, right?
That's right.
And you
Right.
just have to decide. And it's also okay to change your mind. If you pick that path and you go, oh, that was wrong, it's okay to change. But everybody thinks it's got to be so, like, I have to make a decision, I have to move in that direction, and then I can't look back or change. And that's true, like in business strategy. But even in business strategy, I prescribe an agile mindset, which is, if it's not working and you've got the empirical data to prove it, stop that and change. That's agile, right?
Yeah.
So there's commitment to a thing, And then there's realizing it's not the right path and being willing to make the change.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so many people get stuck, and it's sad to see.
I think that's something I
Yeah.
struggle with a lot. I think lack of choice paralyzes me a lot of the time. I'll see two roads and I just don't want to make the wrong decision, so I don't make any decision.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do that. And I like that. It sounds so simple, but it's profound. Make a decision. Make a decision. It might be wrong. You can always change it.
Yeah.
Just start
Also,
down the
there's
path.
actually one more option than you're realizing at every one of these crossroads, right? You go, I have to go left or I have to go right. Well, the third option is to not do anything. So you actually have three.
Mm,
So now I've already broadened it. You now have three choices.
there you go.
It's not, you have three. You still have to make one, and it just needs to not be staying here.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah. That's cool. So tell us about your book. Tell us, give us some little tidbit or takeaway that maybe that we would, if we were to read the book, that we would um walk away with something interesting, and give us one of your favorite points.
I think the focus and the biggest point about my book, although it's very academic, my first book, Getting to the Next Level, which is actually my first solo book. I wrote a book with my brother on network migration, geeky, techie stuff back in the day. My book, Getting to the Next Level, is now being redone, and I'm just going to call it Next Level. And I've removed a lot of the academic stuff. But even if you read my book, Getting to the Next Level, I think the biggest takeaway is that thing about the culture. I try to make it a centerpiece of this, and it's because of an event, a company I worked for. I helped them get to the next level, change their finances, change all kinds of things, and then the owner died in a dive accident at age 36. Is like, holy shit, what happened? And there was a person in the organization who literally 2 days before this gentleman passed away, I had a meeting with him and said, I'm done here. I've done everything I can help you with. This is not the guy. You got to find somebody else. He's not it. He doesn't have integrity. There's all these other things missing. I've done everything I can to try and get him to fit into that role, and he's not the guy. Pick somebody else. He goes, great, no problem. He goes diving that weekend and dies. Meanwhile, we're sitting here going, what are we going to do with the organization? That guy was calling me within 2 weeks going, I think I should take the best techs and the best clients and go start a new company. And I'm
Mm.
like, what are you doing? This isn't your company, right? And so that solidified when I wrote the book. I went, no, culture is everything.
Right.
Vision, mission, values, and the human element, right? If I was lax on the values of the organization. Had I forced the owner to put those in place and hold them as coveted, he would have been driven down and out, and he would never have been there. And so so when I wrote the book, I went, that's got to be this pinnacle thing, is the culture of an organization. I consider it an impasse, and I'm hoping if anybody reads it, that's one of the things they get out of it is, yeah, there's this neat structure for running your business strategy as an agile method, but that whole top section, the culture, is really what I'd like people to take away from, because it can make the difference of where your company goes and doesn't go.
Yeah. Right. Cool.
Where can people find your book, Manny?
They can find it on Amazon, and they can actually, turns out I've seen it available through order through Barnes and Noble, I think. And of course, used copies on Thrift Book and wherever else.
And when is Next Level expected to come out?
I'm hoping by this summer. I'm actually probably, I'd say certainly 60% done with it. And I'm changing it up to be more of a narrative, telling a story of an organization going from chaos to consistency, and letting the message of the culture and the strategy and everything be more of a Socratic, read the story and see how they figured out how to do this.
I love
And
that.
yeah, so it's a little harder task because it requires actually creative writing instead of just academic. So it's pushing my boundaries, but I think it's going to come across as a better book.
I think the
than,
payoff will be
yeah,
fantastic. Absolutely.
and So
Yeah, I'm
hopefully by
excited to
the
read that. Great. Thank you. Thanks for joining us today, Manny. I learned a
yeah, it was
lot.
fun.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys having me, and it was great to talk with you. And maybe have me on next year. We'll see how this goes after I finish that book, and we could talk about other new things.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Love to do
Love
that.
it. Cool, cool. Thanks, Manny. Good to see you.
Take care.
Bye. Dan, you know the best people.
You know what's interesting about this, that since we've been doing a bunch of these conversations now, is that I find it interesting that like people with all these different backgrounds that we talk to, it kind of comes around, and maybe it's the questions we're asking, but maybe it's more the fact that people are willing to answer the questions. It always kind of comes around to these same sort of like philosophical concepts. And like, we haven't found anybody who's like been like pushed back in any way and been like, oh, that's not my experience. My experience is actually the complete opposite. It seems like there's a lot of like commonality from everyone's different perspectives on kind of like what it means to have a good life, or like what it is to help move yourself forward. Like all these same concepts are, yeah, it's just interesting that a diverse group of people kind of have similar perspectives,
Well,
even though they
diverse
haven't
groups,
met,
but
they haven't talked.
diverse groups, but successful people, right? That these
Yeah,
successful people are learning, hey, it takes community, it takes communication, it takes serving something greater than yourself,
right. Exactly.
which I think is maybe something a lot of people out there don't initially think. They think, oh, these people just have amazing ideas all on their own and, you know, made this all happen by themselves. And in fact, I think what we're learning is, no, it's hiring good people, get out of their way, making the culture a pleasant place to be. It's
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a big part of it too is the he said it today nicely, about choosing not to be a victim, like choosing
Mm.
to like not that, and I really like that he actually said, um you have to go through the process of whatever it is that sucks, right? There might be grief involved, there might be, dealing with what has happened and like having to like clean up the mess or whatever. You have to go through the process of whatever it is, but then there is a point where you say, okay, that's done, and now I'm moving forward or not, right? And
Mm.
I think there are lots of times people choose to stay
Yes,
where they're at
yes,
and not come out of it ever, because it's easier to stay in that mindset than it is to like take responsibility for, I'm going to push forward. And that doesn't mean that they automatically succeed and go to the next thing. But I feel like for me anyway, when I'm down about something, something isn't going right, and it's been dragging on for a while, which I've got some of that going on right now. Um, what always makes me feel better is the hope, is the looking forward
mm,
and like looking at the next opportunity, the next thing that I can push myself forward with, and not get stuck in the woe is me of I'm dealing with this thing, right? So it's like it's the future thing that pulls me forward and makes me feel good again, not the, again, dwelling on this thing or dwelling on the past, like stuff that's
yeah,
already done.
yeah.
So yeah. Anyway.
I think that's a great note to end on. Do you want to do any more algorithm roulette, or I don't know if we even need that
No,
right
I'm
now. But do you want it real quick?
Um, I'm gonna just do one that just popped up.
I'll
Right.
do
Some decision you made that I should have gone down.
an interview with Carol Channing. That was
There
the
you
first
go.
thing that pulled up for me.
And mine, the first thing I popped up is no underscore limbs underscore. And apparently it's a lady here who has no limbs, and she's showing about how she gets through her day.
We are
So yeah,
we are very similar in many ways, and wow, our algorithms would not suggest that.
she's showing how she washes her hair on the wall with her. So there you go, like living life.
Fascinating.
Awesome.
Thanks,
All right, good
Dan.
times.
Good
Good to see
times.
you.
Always good to see you.
Oh,
Yeah.
see you later.
Thanks, friend. See you next time.
Bye bye.